The Old Man's Secret Garden, Chapter 1. The Boy Who Never Stopped to Look. There was once a boy named Daniel. He grew up in a small town surrounded by golden fields and quiet rivers. But Daniel never noticed any of it. He always looked forward to the next grade, the next city, the next dream. His grandfather, a gentle old man named Mr. Edmund, lived just down the road. Every morning, Mr. Edmund woke up before the sun rose and walked slowly to his garden. He watered his plants. He pulled out the weeds. He talked to his flowers like they were old friends. Daniel watched him sometimes from the window and thought to himself, "What a waste of time." He didn't understand why someone would spend hours with dirt and seeds when there was a whole world waiting outside. So one summer morning, when Mr. Edmund called out to him, "Daniel, come help me in the garden today," Daniel pretended he didn't hear. He grabbed his bicycle and rode away as fast as he could. That was the last summer Daniel spent in that town. In September, he moved to the city to study, and he never looked back. The years that flew like birds, 20 years passed. Chapter to the years that flew like birds, 20 years passed. Daniel became a successful businessman. He built a company. He earned money. He traveled the world. But somewhere along from the way, something went missing. A quiet piece of himself he could never quite name. His mother called him. One October evening, her voice sounded heavy, like rain-soaked earth. "Daniel," she said softly, "your grandfather passed away this morning. He left something for you." Daniel sat still for a long time. He remembered the old man's kind eyes. He remembered the smell of fresh soil and roses in the morning air. He remembered the invitation he had ignored. A sharp pain moved through his chest. Not grief alone, but something deeper, regret. He booked the first flight home. Chapter 3. The garden that remembered everything. When Daniel arrived at the old house, it looked smaller than he remembered. The wooden gate creaked as he pushed it open. Then he saw it. The garden was breathtaking. Roses climbed up the stone walls. Lavender swayed gently in a breeze. A tall oak tree stood at the center, its branches wide and welcoming. Between its roots, there was a small wooden box with Daniel's name carved into the lid. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside, there was a single folded letter and a packet of seeds. He unfolded the letter and began to read. "My dear Daniel, I always knew you were in a hurry. That is okay. I was young once too. I also ran. But let me tell you what I learned from this garden. You cannot rush a seed. You plant it in the dark, in the cold, in the unknown, and you trust. You water it even when you see nothing. You return every morning, even when it seems pointless. And one day, one quiet, ordinary morning, something green pushes through the soil, and the whole world feels different. That is not gardening, Daniel. That is life. The seeds I am leaving you are not for flowers. They are a reminder. Whatever dream you have buried, whatever relationship you have neglected, whatever part of yourself you have forgotten, it is not too late to plant it again. I love you. Always. Grandpa Edmund. Chapter. For the morning Daniel finally stopped running. Daniel sat under the oak tree for hours. He cried, not just for his grandfather, but for all the mornings he had ridden away on his bicycle, for all the phone calls he had missed, for all the sunrises he had ignored while chasing things he thought were more important. But then something shifted. He looked at the packet of seeds in his hand. He looked at the garden, this beautiful, living gift his grandfather had spent decades building. One quiet morning at a time, he stood up. He found the old tools in the shed. He dug a small patch of earth near the wall, and with careful, deliberate hands, he planted the seeds. He didn't know what they would become. He didn't know how long they would take. But for the first time in 20 years, he wasn't in a hurry. The lesson what the garden taught Daniel decided to stay in the town for a month. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise. He walked to the garden. He watered the seeds. He waited. On the 18th day, he saw it, a tiny green shoot, barely visible, pushing bravely through the dark soil. He laughed out loud. Then he cried again. He called his daughter that evening, a girl he had spent a little time with. He told her about the garden. He told her about his grandfather. And he said, for the first time in a long time, I'm sorry I was always so busy. Can we start again? She said yes. That small word felt like the first green shoot of a new season. Closing word seeds are still there as the story is for everyone who ran too fast, for everyone who said not now to someone who needed them, for everyone who forgot that the most important things in life are not things at all. They are people, mornings, and the slow, faithful act of showing up. The past tense is powerful. It was. It happened. It cannot be changed. But the present tense, right now, is still yours. The seeds are still in your hand. The soil is still warm. What will you plant today? You do not need to have been perfect in the past. You only need to be present, right now, in the garden of your own life. Past tense highlights in this story. Simple past. Lived, walked, said, planted, cried. Laughed past continuous. Was growing, were waiting, was swaying past perfect. Had spent, had missed, had ignored. Had built. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next one. Keep growing.